What's up everybody, NFX here with another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to talk about making a rhythm guitar part. Specifically I'm going to talk about doing a funk style rhythm guitar part. It's not going to be a complicated guitar part, but it'll be enough to show you basically my method of starting a guitar part, and then you can experiment and build on that and hopefully take it to the next level. The first thing you want to do before coming up with a guitar part is pick a very good guitar sound. A lot of soft synth and samplers have some kind of a guitar sound in it. Sample Tank has a couple of them. I'm sure that other software like Halion and Contact and other ones probably do. But the key is you want two things. You want a good sound to start with, and then you want to put some effects over it. In my case, I'm going to cover just entering the notes and getting the rhythm and the pattern down in this tutorial. And then in another tutorial I'm going to talk about how you would do a wah effect using some automation. So that's going to be its own tutorial. But let's get started. The first thing I want to do is bring up this. I'm going to show you what I use. I use the Sonic Implants Real Fender Strat sound font. It's a great sound font. I think it goes for about 30 bucks from the Sonic Implants site. That's about what it was when I bought it. I think it's been a while, but it's probably one of the best investments I've ever made, because I use this thing all the time. And what I like about it is it's a clean guitar sound. The sound font itself, like I said, it's worth what I paid for it many times over. So if anyone from Sonic Implants is watching and wants to send me some free stuff, go right ahead, even though I've bought so much of it already. But anyway, so start off with a good sound. So I think I've got a good sound, so I'm gonna go forward from here. So what I'm going to do is bring up the piano roll into view, and you can see it here. And let me select the Real Strat. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up into view, and then what I'm going to do is play some chords. And in this particular case I want to play an E minor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I basically have my E minor chord there, right? Now, a guitar has 6 strings, so I want it to be more than 3 notes. I want it to be, 4 or 5 or even 6 notes. In this case, I'm going to pick 5 notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this B, and I'm going to go up to that E. So I'm basically adding 2 more notes that are in the chord again, because this B, here's the chord, so this B is a B down here, there's the chord, this E is another E up here. So I'm basically taking these 2 notes and adding to them and then putting that middle note in there. Okay, so that's what I'm going for. Okay, so now I'm going to record just like a straight 16th note chord over and over again. Okay, so I'm definitely not fully on every note there, but yeah, this is a start, so I'm just going to basically kill off that second bar and just deal with the first one. But you can see pretty much I'm on 16th. Now I'm gonna actually go in and do some quantizing here, and I'm just gonna fully quantize the hell out of it. I'm gonna make sure the start time and the sensitivity are up all the way. The duration, I'm gonna quantize the duration because I want all my notes to start off with exactly the same. And the reason why I recorded it instead of just painting these in, which would have been much easier, is because the thing I don't want the same are these velocities. And you can see down here the velocities are very different. And I'm actually going to clean those up a little bit by using the level scaler. And I'm going to turn the tension, and I'm just doing this by eye because I want them close to each other. I don't want any that are too far apart, because when it was here I can see like these are just too low for me. I want them a little bit closer to each other, so I'm going to do them like about here. And then I'm going to say about like that. And I'm just going to say okay. So now, my timing is perfect. It's computer perfect, but my velocities aren't. My velocities are more human, and that's important. And we'll see why in a second. So let me just bring this over so we can get 2 full bars in here. And I'm going to copy this pattern over. Let me turn on my snap to line, and then I'm going to copy this pattern over like so. And then on the second pattern, I'm going to make all these velocities the same. And then you're going to hear the difference, and then you'll understand why I did what I did. And I'm going to bring these down just so that they're not all full strength. So now I'm just going to play this pattern only, and the green part here is going to sound different than the red part. I want you to listen very carefully at the differences. Now I hope that comes through the tutorial, because some of the tutorials are going to have lower sound quality than what I'm hearing. But for me, I can hear the variation in the volume here. And then when it gets to this part, every single note sounds exactly the same as the previous note. So it sounds very rigid and computerized. And that's the reason why I wanted to record myself, is because I knew I would get these variations in the velocity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go back to 1 bar here and deal with this. And what I'm going to do is now start making this into more of a rhythm, because obviously this is just a straight 16th pattern. There's nothing rhythmic really about it other than the constant timing of it. And one of the things in funk guitar they do a lot is they mute their notes. And sometimes the notes are muted more than if they're not. So what I'm going to do to make it easy is I'm going to select all my notes. I'm going to set my snap down to none. And now I'm going to shrink all these notes so that they barely make a sound. I don't want them all the way down. That's all the way down. I want them a little bit, with a little bit of beef in them, but not a lot. Just, I mean, barely. And we'll hear how this sounds. Okay, nothing spectacular really, but you'll see how it'll fill in the sound. Now what I want to do is I want to deal with each one of these columns here. See this column that's lit up, all those notes in that column, all the notes in this column. I want to go through each one of these columns, and then I'm going to determine if it's going to be a mute or if it's not going to be a mute. And that's how I'm going to get my rhythm. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that first beat is not a mute. So I'm going to bring it over and give it some substance. This one I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to give it some substance. Okay, and it's not unlike making a drum beat at this point, where like these longer columns are where a kick might hit. Now you don't necessarily want this following the real kick drum in your song, but it wouldn't be bad just to think of it. It wouldn't be bad just to think of it in terms of having a kick, because it's a dominant sound in the rhythm. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm just like doing one here and there. And let me just hear what this sounds like so far. Okay, so that's sounding okay. I just keep going. Whoops. And just so you know, I'm holding control and then dragging a window around the notes I want to affect. And then I'm just dragging them all over once they're selected to make them. Actually, let's just do this one. Yeah, it takes mouse skill to do this sometimes. Okay, so maybe like this. We'll see how this sounds. Okay, so I don't really like it. I like the first half of it. I don't like the second half, so I'm going to tweak it some more. And once I hear it playing, I kind of get an idea in my mind what I want to hear in the rhythm. And that wasn't it completely, so let me try again. So I think I want this one to be a double. I want this one. That's okay. I mean, that would be a good starting point for me. I might actually tweak it more later, but that's a good starting point. But now you can hear how the little mutes in between just keep the timing going, and then the expanded notes give it the actual rhythm. So it's dun da dun dun da dun da dun dun. Okay, and so there we have our basic rhythm, but now we want to go another step with it. And this is where one of my favorite parts of FL Studio come into play, and that's using the Strum tool. Because all these notes are hitting exactly on the line. They're quantized perfectly, right? So we don't want that. When a guitarist is strumming, he's either going down on a downstroke or up on an upstroke. When he's doing that, some strings are getting hit before other strings, right? If you're going on a downstroke, the top strings are being hit, and then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. Now, he does it very fast, so you can hear the chord pretty clearly, but in real life, that top string is sounding before that bottom string, okay? In this case, these are the top strings. The lower notes are the top strings, and the higher notes are the bottom strings when you're looking at a guitar. So what we want to do is we want to kind of emulate that by making the notes hit slightly after one another, and we also want to alternate. So we want the notes going this way to go slightly after one another, emulating a downstroke, and then we want this next set to offset in the other direction to emulate an upstroke. And actually what I'm going to do is over here, let me put my snap back on the line, and I'm going to do this so I can demonstrate the effect, how it affects the notes. So I'm just going to make a chord over here. Just look at basically everything after the 2. That's what we're concerned with. And then I'm going to select that, and now I'm going to strum this. And the Strum tool just came up, and what you'll notice is now there's bigger gaps some places and smaller gaps some places. And actually what I can do is make these notes smaller, and then it'll be much clearer. So let's do that. Okay, so there we have all these little notes. Now I'm going to bring up the Strum tool. I'm going to tell it now this time knob here is how much it offsets. So the more it is, you can see how they're offsetting from one another. Okay, so that's like a strum. That's a strum going down, ding 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 ding. Then there's the next strum, ding 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 ding, like that. Now that's pretty extreme. We don't want something that extreme. And then the other thing we want is we want it to go downstroke, upstroke. Right now we're looking at downstroke, 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 downstroke. So if we click this alternate direction, it'll now do downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. So we're getting a more natural motion in the sound. Now this is likely not to sound very good, so I'm not even going to play it for you. But I just want you to be aware. The time knob says how much strumming do you want. This actually could be thought of as the speed of the strum. The farther over things are, the slower the strum. The closer things are, the faster the strum. And then there's some other settings in here like velocity and tension and the starting tension and some other things, but I'm not going to explain all that. That's basically stuff that, you know, if you're going to experiment with this, just experiment, listen to it, hear what sounds good to you or not, and then do your thing with it. But this alternate direction is important, and I'm just going to cancel this and delete these notes. Now let's go back to our pattern, and here we are. Now I'm going to hit Alt S to bring up the strum tool again, and it's done some offsetting already. And then what I'm going to do is here on this offset knob on the time, I'm actually going to, when it's reset, it's here, and if you look down here you can see these notes are all lined up, and as I slide it over, you'll see the notes are sliding over as well. But what I'm going to do is actually slide it over just slightly. I mean, on my display, which is off the screen where it would tell me the value of this knob, it's still at 0, 0, 0, 0. Right there it's at 1. So right where you see this knob, it just went to 0, 0, 1. But I don't want that much. I just want a little bit. I want maybe right there, about right there, just very little. And then I also want to alternate my direction because I want to emulate down and up strokes. Then I'm going to hit OK. Now let's take a listen. Okay, so now that sounds a lot more natural. Now it's still a clean guitar sound, so we haven't really finished with making it a funk guitar, but that's going to be done in another tutorial where I'm going to talk about the automation I'm going to use to actually accomplish that. But for now, hopefully you've seen that it's pretty easy to make a guitar part in FL Studio. And you know, you'll experiment and come up with some of your own. And in the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.